Welcome to this deep dive. Okay, so today we're tackling something that seems like, nothing at all, really.
Yeah, the number zero. And you're right. I think for most people, the first thought is just emptiness, absence. It just feels like it isn't there.
Exactly. And that's our starting point, based on the sources we've looked at, that common idea. But hang on, because the deeper you go,
Mm-hmm.
the more you find out that zero is, well, it's anything but nothing. It's actually, like, profoundly important, super fundamental to modern math, computers, science, basically everything you're using right now to even listen to this.
It's kind of amazing, isn't it, how this thing we link with, avoid,
Right.
actually ended up being foundational.
Right?
So our mission here, digging into the material, is to sort of unpack how that happened, how this simple-seeming idea went from zero to, well, enabling almost everything. We want to give you a clear path through its pretty surprising story.
Okay, let's do it. Let's get into the story of zero, where it came from, what it does, its huge impact. I think by the end of this, how you see this little circle, it's going to change completely. So where do we start? The beginning, I guess.
Yeah, the beginnings. Where did this idea, this need to actually represent nothing or maybe just a gap, where did it really take shape? And the sources, they point pretty clearly towards India.
Ah, okay. India. Yeah, the material mentions things were sort of brewing around the 4th century, with people like Aryabhata using a symbol for it in his work.
That's right. Aryabhata used a concept, and then maybe a century or two later, you get Brahmagupta, maybe 5th, 6th century. And he's the one who really lays it out clearly, presents zero, not just as a placeholder, like an empty spot, but as a number you can actually do math with. Adding zero, subtracting zero, multiplying by zero, defining those operations. That was like a really big deal.
That's a huge conceptual leap, isn't it? But it wasn't like everyone just immediately said, great idea.
Right.
The sources talk about how different cultures saw it.
Oh, definitely not universal acceptance right away. I mean, look at the ancient Greeks. Brilliant mathematicians, obviously. But they largely steered clear of zero as a number.
Why was that?
Well, connecting it to the sources, their philosophy often found the idea of a void, of emptiness, kind of problematic, like non-being. How do you represent something that isn't? But didn't quite fit their worldview mathematically or philosophically.
Huh. But the Hindu perspective, which the sources highlight, was totally different.
Completely different. Zero wasn't just emptiness. It was sometimes linked to this concept called purna.
Purna, meaning completeness or wholeness. That sounds like the exact opposite of nothing.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And, it raises this interesting point the sources bring up. How can emptiness and completeness be linked?
Yeah.
Well, in some strands of Hindu thought, the void, or shunya, isn't just absence. It's seen as, like, pure potentiality, the source from which everything emerges, or maybe the ultimate state of completion, beyond all forms. So connecting zero to nothingness wasn't necessarily negative. It could be linked to this really profound philosophical idea. And maybe that different way of thinking, that conceptual framework, made it easier to accept zero mathematically compared to cultures that sort of feared the void.
That's fascinating. So it's not just a symbol on a page. It's deeply tied into how people thought about existence itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this powerful idea, philosophically rich. How did it start flexing its muscles practically?
Right. The practical power, that really comes alive with place value systems. That's where zero becomes indispensable, absolutely crucial.
Yes. And the sources give that classic example, right? Think about 5 versus 50. Same digit, the 5. The only thing that makes them different in value is...
The zero. That little circle, that nothing, shifts the 5's value tenfold. Without zero holding that place in a system based on powers of 10, like ours, well, writing large numbers efficiently, calculating with them, it becomes incredibly clumsy.
You'd need totally new symbols for 10, 100, 1,000 like the Romans did. It's messy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Zero is what makes our decimal system so elegant and powerful.
It's funny how you just take it for granted, isn't it? Until you actually stop and think about what math would be like without it.
Total.
And this practical power, this function, it leads straight into why it's so vital today in ways we probably don't even notice most of the time.
Precisely. Place value changed written math, sure. But zero's importance takes another massive leap forward with the digital age. Computers.
Right. Binary code.
Yep, the backbone of pretty much all modern tech.
And binary, it's just zeros and ones. But it's more than just having 2 digits, isn't it? What's the zero actually doing there?
Well, essentially, 0 and 1 represent the 2 basic states a computer circuit can be in. Off or on. False or true. low voltage or high voltage. So 0 isn't just a placeholder anymore. It's actively representing one of those two essential states. It's like half the language.
Yeah.
Every single thing your computer does, calculations, running software, showing this video, playing this audio, it all boils down to incredibly complex sequences of these two states, off and on, 0 and 1.
So the entire digital world, everything from your smartwatch to, I don't know, global financial networks, it's all built on this interplay between something and, well, nothing, 0 and 1.
That's exactly it. The sources make it crystal clear. Without 0 providing that essential off state, that false value, to contrast with the on or true state of 1,
Yeah.
modern computing just couldn't exist as we know it. It's fundamental.
Wow. It really is quite something. To think that this number, the one you probably first learned, just means none, like no cookies left,
Yeah.
is actually the thing enabling global communication, complex scientific modeling, entertainment, just everything.
It's a remarkable journey for a concept, isn't it? From being maybe a philosophical puzzle or something even feared like the void, to becoming this absolutely essential tool that literally shapes our modern reality.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, you can really see that shift, can't you? Based on everything we've looked at in the source material, we started with that gut feeling. 0 means nothing.
Just emptiness.
But we end up seeing its incredible value, its foundational power.
Yeah, we trace it back to India, right?
Hmm.
Mentioned Aryabhata's early use and how Brahmagupta really nailed it down as a number you could calculate with.
And we contrasted those views, the Greeks being a bit wary of the void, versus the Hindi perspective sometimes linking 0 to purna, to completeness, which is such a different way of thinking about it.
Absolutely. Then its practical side, how critical it is for place value.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 versus 50 example. Makes our whole number system work.
And finally, its role today, absolutely fundamental for technology, for binary code. The 0 alongside the 1, making the digital world possible.
So the story of 0 is really a fantastic example, isn't it? Of how an idea that seems simple or abstract or even represents absence can turn out to be completely foundational.
It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? I mean, given how 0, this symbol for nothing or emptiness, turned out to be so vital and was even in some views connected to completeness.
Yeah.
Does that make you wonder, what other ideas that we might dismiss now as insignificant or maybe too abstract, what hidden world-changing power might they hold? What does 0's journey from emptiness to underpinning everything tell us about that strange, surprising link between nothing and everything?